Here we are, chapter 1.6, still talking about adding and subtracting rational numbers. We're going to add and subtract rational numbers. We're going to write, we've written numbers, rational numbers in simplest form and as a decimal. And now we're going to talk about adding rational numbers. So we're going to talk about adding rational numbers. All right, so if we go up here, we're going to add rational numbers. Rational numbers are, again, fractions, or a over b can be rewritten as a over b. In order to add two fractions, we've got to have the same denominator. So we've got to have a over b, and both fractions have to have that same denominator. Remember, the numerator is in the top, denominator is in the bottom. In order to add fractions or rational numbers, we've got to have that same denominator. So if we do have the same denominator, I suppose our first check would be, do we have the same denominator? 3/16 plus 5/16, because we have the same denominator, we keep the 16ths in our answer as the denominator, and we just add or subtract appropriately up here. This one is addition, so it's 3 plus 5 gives us 8/16. And we always, if we're combining things, whether we're multiplying, adding, subtracting, dividing, we always look to say, does our answer need to be simplified? So yes, we need to simplify our 8/16, and we could say it's 8 times 1 over 8 times 2, and the 8's cancel out, and 1/2 becomes our answer. So there's our answer. So if we've got the same denominator, we can check, and we would just add the numerator, keep the denominator, move on, and then try to simplify. The harder part comes in when we don't have the same denominator. If we have different denominators, we've got to convert those rational numbers, those fractions, to a common denominator. So we would convert to the lowest common multiple. We can convert to a common multiple. In other words, we can convert this, if we've got a question like this, 7/10 plus 11/12. We can say the common multiple here between 10 and 12 would be 120, but you know what? That's really not the lowest common multiple, and we need to kind of make our life as easy as possible. If we've got a couple different fractions with a couple different denominators, that might get, our denominator might get really, really big if we just simply multiply all of our numbers together. So we're going to find the lowest common multiple. Lowest common multiple is the most elegant way to do it. So if we were going to find the lowest common multiple, we're going back to the previous section. We're going to talk about using the cake method to find the lowest common multiple between 10 and 12. So to do 10 and 12, I suppose we could use the cake method altogether and say, well, let's find the lowest common multiple between 10 and 12. Between 10 and 12, is there a common multiple? Yep, we can pull out a 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And there is our lowest common multiple. Between 5 and 6, I suppose, before we come to the lowest common multiple, we can say between 5 and 6, is there a common factor that we can pull out in our cake method? There's not, because 5 is prime and 6 doesn't have a 5 in it, so we're done. So our lowest common multiple is 2 times 5 times 6. Lowest common multiple, 2 times 5 times 6 equals 2 times 5, 10 times 6, 60. Done. There's our lowest common multiple. Another way to do it, I'm going to do this in red just to say, you know what, let's do it according to what we've listed here. Prime factor 10. I got 10 is 2 times 5. I've got prime factor 12. 12 is, well, 2 times 6. 6 is 2 times 3, and that would be 2 squared times 3. Lowest common multiple includes every factor from every red denominator, or every red factor, every red denominator. To the highest power, we've got to list all of our factors. We've got a list of 2, got a list of 5, because we list all of our prime factors. Got a list of 2, it's listed there already. We've got a list of 3, or include a 3, and now we raise each of these factors over here to the highest power that they're seen over here. This 2 has to be squared, because the 12 needs 2 of those. So this would be 4 times 5 times 3, 60, 4 times 5, 20, times 3, 60. Lowest common denominator, 60. Lowest common denominator, or lowest common multiple of the denominators, 60. Either way we do it. If we use the cake method here in the green and the blue, or we use the prime factorization and list all of our factors and raise them to the highest power, either way we get to the same answer. So we're going to add fractions. We say now we've got 7/10 and 11/12. I need to convert to my lowest common multiple. So I say I've got my target multiple, or target denominator, becomes 60. And I've got to say for, let's see, for the blue fraction, to get from 10 to 60, I had to multiply by 6. So the numerator at the top kind of comes along for the ride. 7 times 6 becomes 42. And there's our 7/10 is 42/60ths written as a common denominator. We do the same thing for the 12ths. 12 times what gives me 60? Multiply by 5. So the numerator comes along for the ride. 11 times 5 gives me 55/60ths. 55/60ths can be reduced to 11/12ths. 42/60ths can be reduced to 7/10ths. And now that plus sign just kind of comes along for the ride. And now we just add 42/55ths is, or sorry, 42 plus 55 is our numerator over 60 equals, well, 42 plus 55 is 97/60ths equals, let's see, 97/60ths is going to be 1 and 37/60ths, because that 1 is 60/60ths. So we've got 97/60ths and we've got 60/60ths is 1. Whatever is left over after we take that 60 out is 37. 1 and 37/60ths is our answer. Let's see. I'm going to have you guys pause the video and do this one on your own and see if you can get the lowest common multiple. Let me see if I've got some space over here. Don't. Find the lowest common multiple and then convert to the lowest common multiple and then add appropriately. Alright, well, let's see if we've got 6th and 10th. Let's see, I'm going to go over here and find the lowest common multiple between 6 and 10. And I'm going to use the cake method. Let's see, to pull out a 2, I've got 3 and 5. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I've got lowest common multiple of 2 times 3 times 5. Lowest common multiple, 2 times 3 times 5. 6 times 5, 30. We're going to convert to 30ths. Everything needs to be converted to 30ths. Alright, 6 times 5. 6 times 5 gives us 30 in our denominator. 5 times 5 gives us 25, and that fraction is negative because that negative sign comes down here. I got tenths multiplied by 3 to get to 30. So my numerator has to do the same thing. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 9/30ths is the same as 3/10ths. All we've done is just converted. We put an addition sign between them. Now both fractions are in 30ths in a common denominator. So now I add up my negative 25 plus 9/30ths. And we just add up negative 25 plus 9. We get negative 16. I got negative 16/30ths. And now we just simply simplify that. I've got a negative 2 times 8 over 2 times 15. These cancel out. I've got a negative 8 over 15ths. And there would be my answer. 8 over 15. Negative 8 over 15. And there's our answer. So in order to add fractions, we need to have a common denominator, add rational expressions, add rational numbers, have a common denominator, convert to a common denominator by finding that lowest common multiple and converting.